for me going in, because I really didn't follow the press of this show until before it came out. So I really didn't think about it until I started watching it, was how it was going to connect, if at all, to the Netflix series Daredevil.
Yes.
Because it is, obviously, they moved properties, moved from Disney moved from Netflix to Disney, and they kind of teased it in with things like Spider-Man and that. Actually, Kian, I have a genuine question to ask you, because
Okay.
I don't know if I just missed a series or I just cannot remember if I just didn't watch that last season of Daredevil on Netflix. Were Daredevil and Kingpin in Echo?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
basically the timeline is Daredevil series 3 happens, and I mean I suppose we can spoil that. In the end of that, like Kingpin goes to jail.
How dare you? I didn't see that yet.
Bullseye, who has been like pretending to be Daredevil the whole season, has been thwarted, but had adamantium put in his bones. And then, if you remember, Kingpin shows up in Hawkeye and
Yeah.
then gets shot by Echo. And then in Echo, there's like one scene with Daredevil, but most of Echo is Kingpin sort of recovering from, and then also trying to get Echo back on side. And it ends with him planning his mayoral prospects on the way back to New York. So yeah, it's not really his
Okay.
story, but he pops in halfway through. So yeah, he has been there. Like,
Okay,
I
that has confirmed my suspicions that I'd never actually watched season 3 of Daredevil.
you
I
should
didn't
though.
see.
It's really
I
good.
should. I
Let
should.
me just say this real quick. All of the final like seasons of all the Netflix properties, including Iron Fist, you can believe it, are actually quite good. And Daredevil series 3 particularly straddles a really nice line between the sort of super heavy season 1 and the more pulpy, sensational sort of Marvel style of the Disney Plus things. It's definitely
Mm.
worth a watch. I'd say it feels long compared to this, but it is really, really good. And unfortunately, all of the cancellations sort of came out before the series came out. So I think it's gone very underwatched, you know?
Yeah, I think after, what was the name of the team up show that I can't remember
The
anymore?
The
Defenders.
Defenders.
The Defenders. I think I watched The Defenders and was just kind of underwhelmed and just kind of let everything bar Jessica Jones lie from that.
Yeah.
That
Hmm.
third season of Jessica Jones was brilliant as well, though.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true. The only kind of last season, like because Iron Fist 2 season was good. Jessica Jones last season was good. Luke Cage's second season was really good. The only one I think didn't work was the Punisher's second season, but it wasn't intended to be the end of his character, like, you know, so you can kind of let that go.
but yeah, I suppose all this to say, even though I clearly missed a lot of the groundwork for this,
Mm.
they've done a good job of kind of like reintroducing it.
Yes.
And all that to say, the start of the show is like, well, it's a big get together for like everyone that watched all of those seasons and kind of built up. But
Not spoil the dramatic.
I'm not
Okay,
gonna say
okay,
specifics,
cool,
but let's
fine.
just say they took a baseball bat to the status quo
Yeah.
and we're starting from zero.
Not completely though. It's sort of like it does reset the table a bit, but
Yeah.
it's not completely like everything that used to be in Daredevil is
Yeah.
gone. It just sort of like gives the character a nice dramatic jumping off point, you know?
Yeah. But all this to say, like, I think while it'd certainly be more like rewarding to have watched from Daredevil season 1 all the way through Hawkeye and Echo and the Defenders, I think somebody can jump into this and still get like a full, only from these first 2 episodes, a full kind of like seasonal arc, because
I
it
would
does
say so.
focus.
Yeah.
Because
Because
it like the primary focus is that Kingpin is mayor of New York now.
yeah, like I was watching this with because I really liked those Netflix Marvel things.
Mm.
The only and actually that first sort of sequence is very nice because those Marvel Netflixy things could have done with an edit, like 13 episodes a
Yeah.
season, probably too much. But like there's a that first scene in the new one, it's kind of like 5 minutes long, it's a lot of chatting, it's not very urgent. And then after that, status quo change. It all becomes very cinematic and very clipped in the Marvel Disney Plus kind of type way.
Yeah.
So it feels like you're given a bit of the familiar, the everything just like shaken up, and then we move into the new one, which is a very sensible way to go about it, like, you know?
Definitely. And I think one of the things, especially kind of coming into the Disney realm, there's been a lot of talk of Disney homogenizing a lot of the kind of the Marvel stuff into kind of one particular brand. And
Mm.
it's only when things really escape that is it particularly notable. Daredevil escapes that. Like Daredevil
It
is
does.
a much different vibe to, like I'd even say Hawkeye or the Falcon Winter. Even actually compared to the Falcon Winter Soldier, which is another kind of gritty, grounded drama series.
Mm-hmm.
This is much more distinct as a property from the kind of the Marvel canon.
It feels
Uh,
like it's its own thing.
Mm.
yeah,
You know, it's like obviously it's connected to both the Netflix and the Disney MCU, but it feels like an actual show. You know, when you're and also the way it's shot, I love like certain things that we'll probably get into, but I love the fact that they incorporate his superpowers into the actual framing of the show. So it's
yeah,
like when he's listening to Foggy having the conversation outside the bar, very early on in episode one, it kind of zooms in on Foggy, but like the actual screen pans out,
Mm.
and it's like, wow, that's really clever. It's such a cool way of doing it, but because the problem with Marvel in lots of ways, again, is that it is very homogenous. It's like a Marvel soup kind of thing. It's like very basically shot and a lot of really bad CGI, but this did a lot of what I had. Now, I would have to say the CGI at certain points in this was a bit ropey. I have to be fair. There were certain points in this where, again, it kind of looked like a PS2 game, but that was very few and far between. The actual like core of this show, great characters that you care about, great writing, but then throwing in the little bits of very unique framing stuff makes up for its shortfalls, which would be the CGI, ironically enough.
Yeah, but like I do agree. I noticed those CGI things. Although to be honest, it made me nostalgic for the 2003 Daredevil, which has some very ropey CGI that the director actually complains about on the commentary. But it's yeah, it's a good this Daredevil thing. It's funny because not to go too far into Star Trek, but myself and Stevie are watching Enterprise at the moment, and we were kind of saying when when something is bad or not working, it's very easy to articulate what isn't working. When something's firing on all cylinders, it's actually quite hard to pin down why you like something. So I'm kind of in that phase with this one, but I'm really liking all the character work, and in terms of the wider Marvel context. I like that one, they've sort of solidified the Netflix stuff into sort of MCU, which I always thought it was, but there's always that discourse on the internet.
it was always kind of like tangential because I think the start of Daredevil, the start of Jessica Jones mentioned a ransack of New York, which was the Avengers, which was that massive battle.
Oh, they
But
went
like it
more
never,
specific than that. Like, like
yeah,
they talked about the invasion and like a huge thing about Luke Cage was like one of his like sort of ears on the street was selling bootleg video copies of footage from the New York attack and all that. But
yeah,
what I mean is as well is like there was like the Kingpin's basically his angle is that he's trying to kind of bring back the law and order thing and he's targeting vigilantes and superheroes and they specifically sort of give a shout out to Spider-Man and stuff. So I
yeah,
think if you're gonna do like a grit not gritty, but like a more dramatic Disney Plus thing and not in the espionage Falcon way, having the merits of superheroes be at the heart of it and having Daredevil not want to be Daredevil is a pretty sensible way to do it because it makes the show bulletproof. If you don't like what the Kingpin's doing, you're sort of rooting for Marvel. And if you're a cynic who's tired of all the Marvel stuff, you're like, yeah, go this show. It's a very savvy thing to do with it.
yeah. No, as I said, I'm gonna wait and see. It's obviously only the first two episodes, but it's a strong showing of the first two episodes.
That
Yeah.
is, yeah, we should
Yeah,
temper our expectations because they always do this. The first episode's always cracking, and then kind of by episode four, you're kind of like, why is Moon Knight in an Egyptian tomb? What
we've. I
uh
think we all watched Luke Cage. I think we could all agree that Mahershala Ali was far superior to Diamondback.
oh
I think
oh my God. I would love to know. I'm assuming he was meant to be there and then got like moonlighted